Daf Kuf Yud Aleph Amud Beis, right at the top of the Amud. Continue on with Mazikin and with Inyanim of Kishuv and Sakana. Hayman de Mipane Agir de Dikla, a person who relieves himself on the stump of a palm tree. Achtel Elidei Ruach Palga. He is possessed by the Ruach of the Palga, the type of the shade that's called Palga. A person who leans his head on the stump of a palm tree, he'll be possessed by the ruach of what's called sroda. So that Rashi Rashbam says, and that will cause his head to ache. He'll have headaches, or he won't have clarity of the mind. One who steps over a tree, a palm tree that's fallen down. If the tree was chopped down, kotel, he'll be killed. If it was uprooted, he'll be uprooted and die. But that's only true if he did not put his foot on the tree when he stepped on it. But if he put his foot on it when he stepped over it, then it doesn't apply. It's only if he stepped over it but not stepped on it. There are 5 types of shades where the mazikin frequent. Tula the dikla yechida, the shade of a palm tree, an isolated palm tree. Tula the kanda, the shade of a low tree. Tula tain, also the shade of a fig tree. Tula the pircha, the shade of a caper tree. Tula the zardosa, the shade of a sorb tree. Ikadamni, some say of tula the arba vatula. Also. Some say it's also on the shade of a boat and the shade of a willow tree. Klala the milsa. What's the rule? Called a nafish anfe kashitula. A tree that has many branches, then the shade is harmful. That's where the shade is harmful because it has many branches. That's where the mazikin frequent. The whole the kashi silva kashitula. And any tree whose the wood is harmful, meaning it has thorns that prick the person and harm a person, so silva kashi, the kashi silva, where the tree is harmful, the shade is also harmful. The bar mikra mishma, except for the shade of what's called a service tree. Avagav the kashi silva, even though the wood is harmful, the kashi tula, the shade is not harmful. The amrla shade of lebra, there's a maisa where a certain shade said to her son, she said, Pircha, fly away from the service tree. Because that tree killed your father, the kotel didei, it's going to kill you as well. Omar Ravashi, Chazina L'Ravkana, the Parshva Kulatula, that he saw that he separated himself from all kinds of shades, because he was chayshish, so he stayed away from all the shades. Beparche Ruch. The shadim that are by the caper bushes are called ruch. The beizardasa shadim, they're called shadim. The beigra rishbe, the ones that are on the rooftops are called rishbe. L'maynaf kamina, what's the difference what their names are? The kameya, to write a kameya, if a person writes a kameya to have protection, to be megan against the shadim, he has to write the proper name. The beiperche biryashen lainaim, the shade that's by the caper trees. The caper bushes doesn't have eyes. So my nafkamino, what's the difference? Why does it nageya? Because he knows he can run away from it because it doesn't have eyes. He can't run after him. One time a Talmud Chacham went to relieve himself by a caper bush. And he heard the shadim coming upon him and he ran away. And when the shade was running after him, it couldn't see, it tripped, and it held on to the palm tree. Savach diklo pakahi, the palm tree showed up, and the shade burst. Shade. So it says the mazikin that are by the sorb tree are called shadim. Hazard also the smichalamasa, if there's a sorb tree that's near the city, doesn't have any less than 60 shadim. If he writes a kameya, he has to know that there is 60 trees there, and he has to write it for all 60. There was a watchman of a city. He stood by the sorb tree that was near the city. All of Beishis and Shida. He's talking 60 Shadim came into his body and he was endangered. Also, there's also Shit and Shadim. However, there was a Talmud Chacham that didn't know that it has 60 Shadim. So he wrote the Kameya, but only for one Sheda. He heard that the Mazikim, the Shadim, were hanging a chinga, a song. They were making a song. They were making fun of him. So they hung a chinga inside the tree. So they hung this musical instrument called a chinga tree, and they were singing this as following. And they sang and they said they were making fun of him, and they sang as follows: Sudra Damara Kitsurva Dramarbana. The Sudra, the turban of this person looks like a Talmud Chacham. He has the lavush of a Talmud Chacham. But Bedikna Bebamar, we examined him, he doesn't know how to make a bracha. So really, he doesn't know. He's writing a kameya for one shade, which is not going to affect all this 60 shadim. Also, there's also shit and shadim. But then a Talmud Chacham came that knew that there was 60 shadim over there. Kosala kameya the shit and shadim, and he wrote a kameya for 60 of them, for all 60 of them. Shama the Kohamro. Then he heard afterwards that they were saying, pack up and leave. Remove your kalim from here. We have to leave. Ketav Meriri, in Parshas Hazino, the Torah says that the Klal Yisrael that doesn't understand, doesn't have the wisdom, it says Vayarashem Vayinas Mikaz Banu V'Naisav and Vayem Astira Fonamahim Erama Achrisam Kidor Tapuchos Hema Bonam Le'emun Bon. Then it continues on and it says that what will happen over them, Aspa Lema Rois, Chitzay Chalava, Mezeirov, Ulchume Reshef, Beketev Meriri, Vishem Behemas Hashalapam Hamas, Chalei Alfar. So the Gemara Darshans Ketev Meriri, what is Ketev Meriri? So this is Trey Kitvehava. There are two types of Shadim that are called Ketev. Chad Mikamatira, one is before noon, V'chad Mibasatira, and one is afternoon. The Mekama Tira, the one that's before noon, Ketev Meriri Shmoy. It's called Ketev Meriri. Umechse Beikada, the Kemcha, Vahada Beibachsha. And it looks like it appears, you can see it in a jug of Kamcha. Kamcha is the mixture that they have. It's Kuta Kamcha, it's sour milk and bread, and it's mixed together. And so it's in a jug of Kamcha. And it looks like the mixing spoons that are swirling around. The Basatira, the one in the afternoon, is Ketev Yoshut Soraim Shemai. It's called Ketev Yoshut Soraim. Mirse Beikana De'iza, and you can see it in the horns of a goat. V'hadar Beik Kanfaya, and it looks like a swirling sieve. Abaya Havashakavalazar was going along Va'azel Rapapa Miminev Rav Rishum is small, and they were traveling with him. Rapapa was to his right, and Rav Rishum was to his left. Chazal Hau Ketem Meriri the Kawasala paid the smaller. So he saw the shade of Ketem Meriri that was coming to his left. Ahadred Larav Papa La Smola Ularafun Rav Rishua Liamine. So he put Rav Papa to the left and Ravun Rav Rishua to his right side. So he wanted to protect Rav Hun Rishu. Rav Papa said to Abaya, why are you not concerned about my welfare? Why do you put me in the harm's way? You have your muzzle, you have siyata d'shmaya, you are successful in what you do, you're not endangered. You have great muzzle, but he is in greater danger. From the first day of Tammuz to the 16th, the Ketev Shadim are prevalent. From then on, it's a suffix, it's non-sure. And you can find in the shadows of a chatzuva. Chatzuva is a plant that goes straight down, it doesn't spread out. And it's said that Yeshua, boy tichem Yeshua's haaretz, he set the boundaries with that because it goes straight down, it doesn't spread out. So he set the divisions of the boundaries for the Shvatim with that plant. So that's where it's found. And the shadows of the morning and evening that are not an amalon. But most prevalent is in the shadow of a Beis HaKisei. Amar Yosef, Hani tlas mili yavarbuna lenahura. These three things cause blindness. Sight is replaced with blindness. Man the sargresha yavish, combs his hair when it's dry. Uman the shasi tif tif, he drinks the drippings of the barrel. Uman the saim sana adamaisne kara, and one who puts shoes on his feet when they're wet. Talav basic kashlanius, bread that's suspended, that's hanging in the house, that brings poverty. Kiram insha talasilsa talmazaina, one who suspends his basket, he suspends his sustenance, his mezainas. But that's only said by bread. But by hanging the meat and the fish, it's not applied in that case, because that's a normal way. If there's bran in the house, it brings poverty. Meaning, if a person can afford better quality bread and he buys bread made out of bran, lower quality, that brings about poverty. If there's breadcrumbs, bread scraps in the house, that also brings aniyusa. On Leil Shabbos and the Leil of Wednesday, meaning on Friday and on Tuesday night, the mazik can rest on it. Isra the mezayna nakich. The name of the malach that's in charge of mezayna, his name is nakich, which means cleanliness. Isra daniyusa, the one that's in charge of poverty, is novel shmei. So meaning, therefore, if there's cleanliness, then there'll be mezainas. If there's filth, and then there'll be aniyus, there'll be poverty. So putting a plate on the opening of a barrel that brings one to poverty.